It's at night that the racketeers strike. It could be a petrol bomb through the window. It could be a visit from hired thugs. In Soho, men walk in fear. Soho this week, the shadowy square mile behind the Christmas lights of Oxford Street, teeming with clip joints and night spots. The West End has 500 nightclubs, a breeding ground for protection, like Britain's 15,000 betting shops. They are the centre of recurring violence. It could be a petrol bomb through the window. It could be a visit from hired thugs. Last weekend, the betting world's third known shooting in 12 months. Up the steps to a council flat in Kennington went two men. Their grievance, still officially unknown. Their target, a 42-year-old bookmaker. He was at home when the gunmen called. An ITN Report's team who reconstructed the crime found nobody who saw it happen. The neighbours were all occupied, watching the telly or down at the fish shop. The gunmen got away. It was the 1961 Betting Act that turned the street bookie out of business and the betting shops into a booming industry. Annual turnover, a quarter of our defence budget. Some shops take 4,000 a day. Rich pickings for the men who demand money not to make trouble. Until 1961, the protection touts concentrated on gaming and strip clubs. Some still pay up, others are defiant. Among them, the club manager who sleeps with a dog and a shotgun beside him. It's at night that the racketeers strike. This club manager takes no chances. A double lock and a chain on the door, and a makeshift bed beside the bar where men from the suburbs come nightly for drink and entertainment. I called on the manager again in business hours.
Mr. Marshall, why do you sleep with a gun and a dog here on your premises?
To protect the premises.
Well, is that really necessary to go to those lengths?
Very necessary, I'm afraid.
Why? Have you been threatened?
In a roundabout type of way, yes.
Has anyone actually sort of come in here and said that they're going to break your place up or anything like that?
No, but several establishments have been burnt to the ground in the last few weeks.
And you think that the same thing may happen to you?
Very possibly.
So, one man says that he's ready to shoot in self-defense. He hasn't suffered yet, but others have. One who knows what happens when you don't pay up is bookmaker James Burge. He told me of the day that a stranger called on him at Acton in Middlesex.
Well, he walked into the shop. I thought he was a traveller trying to sell me something, and he wanted to speak to me privately. So I said, well, I'm on my own for about 10 minutes. So he said, I'll come back. So when my brother turned up, I walked out onto the pavement to see him, and he said, I'll put my cards on the table. We're taking over this man of protection. I said, you are you? So he said, yes. He said, surely you can afford a £5 a week? I said, no. I said, if I can afford to give you a £5 a week, I said, I'll give it to him, meaning my brother. So I said, I don't want to know. He said, you don't want to know? I said, no, I don't want to know. With that, he walked away.
Did they come back and ask for the money again?
No, they came back 2 days later and made a good job of it. They just threw something through the window of the door and just set the place alight.
Fellow bookies gave Burge £1,000 for defying protection men. But last month, 3 London betting shops were bombed. The men behind the raid don't need alibis. They probably really are dining with some VIP on the night the jelly bomb goes in. Their stooges get £20 per raid. Only the bigger raids get publicised. Many victims keep quiet or say it's not protection, just a private quarrel. Anything not to cross the rival gangs who hotted up the war recently when their leaders left prison and got back into business. For Scotland Yard men who face all too often a wall of silence, the rise in violence is a constant headache. New orders have been issued in a bid to check the racketeers.
Whereabouts, sir? Balham High Road. Whereabouts in the Balham High Road?
Each night, anti-bomb patrols stand by for orders. Each day, detectives press home their inquiries, seeking the bookies' answers to a 7-point questionnaire. Protection goes under many names, so police want to know from the bookies if they've had appeals for charity, if they've been asked to help men in prison. But the bookies have other men on their minds, men like betting clerk Ted Berry. He lost a leg after being shot down in the East End. Protection flourishes there just as much as in the West End. One man whose reputation spanned both areas, former gang leader Jack Spot. He's 51 now and going straight. Nowadays he rarely walks his native East End, the streets where he first built up his reputation for toughness.
Now, Jack Spot, good morning. You were once called the king of the underworld, I think.
Yes, that's what the papers called me.
Well, what was the underworld like in your time?
Well, in my time, the underworld was governed by a mob that came from a certain district in London. They were all aliens. And when the war came, half of them was interned for being enemy aliens. The other half I demolished.
How did you demolish them?
Well, I had a bit of a reputation as a tough guy. I went to see them and then they all ran for their lives. And afterwards, they paid me back by getting me done up, years later.
Yes, well, how many of them were involved in that? When they came out of internment, was it?
Well, when they came out of internment, a few of the men's sons, they got a bit older, and they organised a mob to do me up one night. They sent 3 carloads after me, and of course that put me out of business.
Now, what do you think of the protection racket nowadays? We've been told that there are 2 mobs or firms or whatever you call them who divide London between them. Is that right?
Well, that's not right, no. There's a number of gangs in London working the protection racket, and with the help that's been passed in Parliament with the betting laws and the gambling laws, they've got it very easy.
You mean that the law now makes it easier for the protectionists?
Well, of course, there's big money involved, you see, in these betting shops and these gambling clubs.
Now, do these mobs, whether there are 2 of them or more than 2 of them, do they divide London geographically, or do they say, right, we look after betting shops, you look after striptease clubs?
Oh, no, they mix it all together, you see. They put men in the striptease clubs, and the striptease club belongs to the gangs.
Do the gangs fight and quarrel between each other at times?
Oh, not now. There's too much money involved. As I said, if the gambling laws, if there had been no betting shops, and the gambling laws were different, because in my time everything was illegal, you see, the protection racket would die a natural death.
But in Soho, men still walk in fear. After what happened to Sergeant Challoner, the overzealous officer now in a mental home, some policemen felt that their hands were tied. But recent swoops show signs of a new drive to clean up Soho. Purple Hearts first, will it be protection next?